everybody, happy July 4th. Today we are going to be doing a garden tour and an update on some of the things that we have up here in the garden that I want to show you guys. Now this garden tour, I'm kind of using it as like a mid-season update, although I don't know that we're really mid-season quite yet. We're getting there, but not quite yet. I'm just kind of reflecting on some of the things we did this year and some of the things that worked and some of the things we can improve on for next year, and just starting to like catalog those things. So I figured I would share that with you guys so you can kind of see what is working and what we need to tweak for next year, just so you guys can be in on that process and know where we're at. So we're going to start over here in the front corner, and this is our green stalk that we put together and planted up. As you can see, some of the pockets are doing really well. It actually needs some water right now. Some things are looking a little wilty. But some pockets are doing really well, and then others are not. This is my cabbage. We have had some really bad pest issues this year that we've been dealing with, and every year something different or a different pest that you're dealing with. But the cabbage moths for us this year have been really bad. Some things are not doing super great. I can probably just go ahead and pull these things out. But I kind of wanted to just show you guys the way it was before I did any cleaning up or reseeding. One thing that I know for sure that I want to do next year is, I don't know if you guys can tell or not, but this is really leaning to the side. So I want to build a base next year just out of some concrete blocks, and they make these spinner things that you can set your green stalk on and you can actually turn it really easily. We are going to get one of those because the back of this container just does not get enough sunlight and nothing's really growing in these back pockets. So a few things tried, but they're just not getting enough light back here. So I'd like to get one of those spinners so I can turn this garden. Now green stalk makes these stands, which makes it really simple to rotate your planters, which is a really awesome thing. If you're in a position like I am where one side of the garden is more shaded than the other, or maybe you have it against a house or something like that, or maybe just one side gets more shade because of the way the sun comes up, you can turn your planter and really allow everything to get ample amount of sunlight. So that's definitely something that we're going to do for next year, something we're going to improve upon so that we can really utilize the whole planter and not just this front side. But as you can see, the lettuces and arugula have been doing amazing. Honestly, the arugula, this is the best arugula that I have ever grown. It looks amazing. The lettuce, this is romaine lettuce. This is red romaine up here. This is regular romaine. More red romaine. Honestly, they are doing awesome. I have a Swiss chard down here as well. So yeah, everything that came up is doing pretty good except for a few pockets, and honestly I think these bottom ones, I don't think I was watering it quite enough, so that's kind of my fault. But I'm just learning how the system works and how much I need to water it. But all in all, I am really happy with this year. Okay, next you might see that we have our harvest guard down here on the ground. That's because I took it off just to be able to show you guys kind of how everything's doing. This is our cabbage bed, and this purple cabbage is gorgeous. The cabbage bed has not suffered as much damage as some of the other areas in my garden from the cabbage moths. This one obviously got eaten up a little bit more. I have been spraying with BT, which has helped, but I just don't think we got on top of the problem soon enough. But some of these cabbages are going to be just absolutely gorgeous. Super happy with that so far. Some of them are even starting to kind of head up a little bit, so we're excited about that. Beside the cabbage bed over there, we have a broccoli. I had a few cauliflower plants, but they might have all died, and kale in this bed. And this bed is the one that has suffered the most damage from caterpillar moths. Partially, I think part of the reason why I'm having such a hard time getting on top of them is because this bed is so full. I kind of went way overboard and packed this bed way too full, and so yeah, I'm not able to get in there and get the leaves sprayed as much as they need to be. I will be pulling a lot of these plants out because they're all ready to be picked, and we'll go ahead and pick the broccoli heads and then just pull the plants out to start thinning out this bed a little bit and get it ready for something else to go in here. Behind that bed we have our Olle Garden here, which we did a couple of videos about. I'm absolutely loving this metal bed. It's fantastic. In the back here we have 2 rows of corn, which is looking really good. Then we have some watermelon plants planted, and I don't think we have any watermelons starting yet. These plants aren't real big just yet. And then we have some strawberries planted right in the front here. This bed is going to be very full as soon as these watermelon vines really start to take off. But so far, I'm loving this bed. It's so pretty with the watermelon vine just kind of hanging off the side. I love it. In this next bed, we have some more kale. This is where I have all of my onions, which my onions have been really struggling this year. I had some major issues with pincher bugs eating my onion leaves. It was kind of a nightmare, but now my onions are really starting to bulb up and look much healthier, except for these like brown tips, but I'll just take what I can get at this point. I see that the bulbs are bulbing up, and that's exciting. In this bed here we have more broccoli, and I did not take the harvest guard off of this one because there's just a couple of plants here. One tip that I can give you guys is whenever you're planting your garden, if you plant the same thing in multiple different spaces, you're more likely to get a harvest out of those plants because like in the second bed that I showed you that had all the broccoli and kale that was really eaten up, in the bed right beside it, the broccoli and kale look amazing and hardly have any bug damage on them at all. So even though this second bed kind of had a lot of damage and stuff, the bed right beside it is perfectly fine. And on down, I have another bed with more kale in it, and it's also perfectly fine. So the caterpillars are kind of snacking on this one bed, and even though that's a little bit of a shame, I was still able to get broccoli out of that bed and kale from it. And I was able to make a space where the worms would go and then be able to harvest other places and have healthy plants. So you might sacrifice a few plants here and there, but if you spread them throughout your garden, you're more likely to have a good harvest from them. Okay, so before we move on to this next bed, I wanted to just show you this trellis that we just installed a couple of weeks ago. This big wire thing that we're using for our trellis is a cattle panel. It's a very heavy gauge wire. It's not flimsy. It doesn't bend at all whenever you like put any pressure on it like some fencing would. This is very, very strong. And we are holding this up with 4 T-posts here, 1 in each corner. And this is really nice and tall. I'm not sure exactly how tall it is, but I'd have to say at least 7-8 feet tall. And we are having some butternut squash grow up this trellis. So that's what's planted here along this side, another one here, and then there is also a butternut squash on this side, but he is not growing as quickly. I'm not sure if he doesn't get as much sun or what the deal is. But we are going to grow the butternut squash up over this trellis. And that's another tip. If you have limited space, or maybe you're just trying to grow some vining crop that get really massive, and can take up so much space, it's a great way to grow them up over a walkway or something like that to get them off of the ground. 1, that helps with space, but 2, it really helps with pest pressure and keeping the fruit out of the dirt and just different things like that because it's up off of the ground. And it also allows you to plant things that maybe you wouldn't be able to plant before because you didn't have the space because they're growing over top of a walkway instead of all over the floor. Okay, now this bed right here is a little bit of a mess. First of all, the pansies are still looking so pretty, aren't they? I'm so surprised. This is July 2nd. Yeah, it's July 2nd, and these are still looking amazing. I don't even know. There's some on this side too. These ones don't look as good. There's some that look good, and then there's some that are kind of fizzling out. But I just love the pop of flowers and prettiness right here at the corner of the bed when you first walk in. So to explain what's in this bed, this is another bed that has some kale in it. Then we have some yellow squash right here. And then between the yellow squash, we have some green onions, which I have been harvesting and harvesting, and they just keep growing and growing. I just cut these off, and you can either dry them like in a dehydrator or just set them out to dry, or you can freeze them. So I have been doing a lot of that, which is amazing. And this little walkway is being completely taken over between yellow squash and tomatoes. So if I come back to the back of that bed, we were just standing right out there. This bed is some more corn. We planted this corn kind of late, so it's doing good for how long it's been in the ground. There's also a giant Swiss chard in here, which I just need to take out, but he's like living his life, so I don't know, I kind of feel bad, but he looks amazing, but he's like massive, so he needs to go. Before we swing around to the rest of the beds, we have some grapes planted on this back fence, and they are doing amazing. I am so excited about grapes this year. This is going to be our first year getting some grapes, and I'm really excited about it. So we have a grapevine planted here and one planted here, and they just kind of crawl over the back fence here. My plan is actually to move these grapes. I want to build an arbor for them to grow on, and I don't know, they're getting really big where they are, so that might not be an option. We'll just have to wait and see. Okay, so from this bed where the corn was, this bed right here is our tomatoes, which, to be honest with you guys, I have a ton of maintenance that I need to do, and I'm just not on top of it right now. So I'm just going to show it to you as real life. But the tomatoes are loving it. Like, honestly, everything's really happy, and we have tons of tomatoes in here. These are all like a San Marzano type sauce tomato. They're looking amazing. I need to tie all these up. This tomato, I'm not really sure what it is exactly. A lot of these tomato plants were given to me, which is really fun, but some of them I just don't know what they are. These tomatoes here are like big slicer tomatoes, and they are just all through here. I mean, honestly, I don't think my tomatoes have ever been so happy, and I've pretty much just left them alone. And they have grown into a giant jungle of tomatoes. Beside the tomato bed here, we have our potatoes, which are in the grow bags that I have showed you guys putting together. And I really haven't done too much with these except for top them off with soil. These are looking a little dry. They're looking a little like they need some water. So this is how those grow bags of potatoes are doing. They're looking pretty sad and dry at the moment. I think I need to get them some water. So we'll do that after this. There's more tomatoes. Look at them. This is like my best tomato year ever. I'm so happy. Maybe I just need to neglect them and leave them alone. Like, normally I try to prune them, get rid of all the suckers, tie them up, which I started doing this year, but then things just kind of got away from me. But oh my gosh, look at that. Ah, it's amazing. All right, so in this last bed, we have some dill here. This is actually self-seeded. It's a volunteer. It smells amazing. Oh my gosh, I love dill. Love it. Okay, so then we have, hiding under here, we have some poor pepper plants. Honestly, I should have known better. I planted these, but oh, look, the ladybug. Can you see him? Oh, wait, hold on. There he is. It's a ladybug. How exciting. Hey, little guy. Welcome to the garden. You can hang out as much as you like. Invite your friends, please. Anyway, so I have some pepper plants here, but they're completely buried by these zucchini plants, which always surprise me how big they get. I should know better. Every time they surprise me how big they get. So we have some zucchini coming on in there. Most of them are just a couple inches long at this moment, but they're looking really good. This was the first bunch that I planted, and then I planted a couple more here. There is a calendula planted here, and I'm not sure what this is, but it didn't really necessarily look like a weed when it first came up. So I thought I'd just let it grow and see what it is. I'm not sure. I'll probably end up just pulling it here, but then we have another tomato plant right here, which I'm just tying this up to a stake. Again, it probably needs to be tied up some more, but there's some up there, some in there, some down there. And last year, if you guys were with me and you remember, I actually planted all of my tomato plants, well, most of them, along the outside perimeter of the garden against the fence. Well, it was inside the fence, but against the fence. And they didn't produce real well. Like, I got some, but I probably got about maybe 5 or 6 tomatoes on average off of the plants, and they just didn't produce like I thought they would. And I had a lot of plants, and I just didn't even have enough to make sauce or anything like that. So I'm really happy with the tomato plants this year. They're doing awesome. The cucumber plants this year are terrible. I've tried to replant cucumbers 3 times now, and these 3 plants here that I'll show you are the best looking out of the bunch, and they might actually produce something, so we're hopeful on that. Okay, so there's 1 cucumber plant here, there's 2 here which look really good, and then this other 4th one doesn't look as good, but he looks okay. But I'm happy with these 2 here and this one here. I'm hopeful that maybe we'll get some fruit off of them. We'll have to see. The rest of them are kind of puny and sad. It's getting kind of hot for cucumbers right now, so the cucumber thing is just a bit of a gamble, but I'm hoping we get something off of them. At least a couple to pickle or something would be nice, but we'll see. Okay, so now we're going to go outside the garden here, and I'm going to show you a little bit that's taking place outside. First, right here, we have some beautiful sweet peas blooming. I actually planted sweet peas all along the base of this fence, and only 1 came up, but I'm so thankful for this one. It's beautiful. I love it. The hostas that we moved up into this bed from around the big tree that we had cut down are all looking really good. This is tarragon. Looks amazing. Smells amazing. Ugh, love tarragon. Then we have a couple herbs here. This is some chamomile. My chamomile is looking better than it did last year, but still not fantastic. It's like, I don't think it likes this spot very much. I don't know. I've been thinking about digging it out and moving it somewhere else. But there it is for now. Across the walkway here we have a whole bunch more herbs. And this is really turning into a pretty spot. I love all the different textures and colors. Even though these cabbages, again, are host cabbages to keep them hopefully out of the garden, which is semi-working. I love the blue that it brings to the rest of this space. So like the blue green, and then we have like a brighter green and a darker green. It just looks fantastic. These yellow flowers here and here are calendula, which I absolutely love. And right in here, these are calendula seeds that you can harvest and save once they start to turn brown and dry out. Super fun. Or you can just let it drop it all over the ground and it'll probably come back, reseed itself the next year. We have some beautiful echinacea here, or purple coneflower, which has just like reseeded itself all over the place in here, and I love it. This one up here is especially bright pink. Not sure why, but it's beautiful. We also have some nasturtiums in here, which kind of seeded themselves. This is all echinacea, which just seeded itself. We have a bunch of strawberry plants here. this guy right here, that's a cabbage plant that did not survive. Right here we have a bunch of dahlias, and I am waiting for this guy to bloom. Look at that. It's going to be so pretty. It looks like it's going to be purple or pink with like a yellow chartreusey green color. I can't wait. So these are all dahlias here, and this one was my first dahlia to bloom. It's like deep burgundy red with a clear yellow center. It's very pretty. I love it. And then this green strappiness back here is all garlic, which we are getting ready to harvest here pretty quick. And then around this corner here, we have a mix of sunflowers and a bunch of little zinnias coming up in here. So this should be a really pretty show here in the next couple weeks of sunflowers and zinnias, I hope. Then we have a little bit more of a strawberry patch here and some more garlic. Now before I sign off, I know this isn't part of our typical garden tour, but I thought I would show you a few other really pretty things that are happening in the garden right now throughout the rest of the yard. The first one is this beautiful astilbe that's right by our front porch. I want to show you that. So this is right by our front deck where we walk in, and we have a beautiful hosta bed here. Half of it's in sun, half of it's in shade. And this right here is a mix of ferns. There's a ghost fern back there, which I want to move him up to the front here because you can't see him back there. He's too small. But I believe this is an ostrich fern. And then this beautiful astilbe is just, it's like the brightest pink. I absolutely love it, especially with its bright green foliage and the different greens that the fern and the astilbe have. Is just so beautiful. And then we have some lily of the valley down here, which is a really thick leaf. I really like the difference in leaf structure and in color there. I think it's so pretty, and I love that bloom right there. This is actually a really difficult part in my garden because this section of the garden is in full shade like all day. It might get a tiny sliver of sun sometimes under the porch, maybe. I'm not even sure that this section does. I think the other section does, but I don't think this section does. And this thing is still blooming so beautifully, so it's really hard sometimes to find something that'll have flowers or bloom in a really low light situation, and this one does it, and it just shines because it's such a dark area. The bright pink just absolutely shines, and I love it. So I just wanted to show that to you guys. All right, lastly, I want to show you this front flower bed that we have here, partially because I love the colors and the textures that are going on here, but also I added a few new plants that I'm super excited about. Now this is in full sun right now, so you're not going to be able to see as much detail, sadly, but I at least want to show you kind of what's happening here. The first thing is this new rose that I just planted, and it is the most beautiful pink. It is a hybrid tea rose, and I will look up the name and put it on the screen for you guys. But I am super excited about this. I haven't had roses in my garden for a while. Some of the roses that I had before I killed, but I've learned some things since then, so hopefully these will be happy, and they smell so heavenly. I'm really excited about those. So then standing back here, we have another cabbage here, which brings a really bold leaf. Right now it's looking kind of sad and eaten, but it brings a really bold, beautiful blue leaf into the area. This right here is amaranth, which I love. It brings a really nice dark red color to this space. Really pops off of the white wall and against all the green. We have a strappy grass here. I think this might be Cheyenne Sky. It has some purple and some green. We have some sedum tucked in here with some emerald green arbovitas, some anemones here. And then on down here we have a 9-bark and a blue point juniper. And I'm just loving all of the different textures and colors that are happening in here. There's a few spots where I want to add some more things and fill in this bed a little bit more. but just all of the contrast between the different colors and the different textures, I really love it. And so just wanted to show you guys kind of how this space was shaping up, because last year we did a major overhaul of this space, took a whole bunch of things out, planted a few of the things that I just showed you, and I wanted to give you an update on that as well. Okay, this will be the last thing. I promise my camera is going to overheat on me for sure. But these right here are the Daisy May daisies from Proven Winners, and they are looking incredible. This is their 3rd season in my garden, and I'm absolutely loving them. Look at that. They're so pretty. We have a few purple coneflowers, some sedum, some lavender down here, and this yellow flower here, which its name is escaping me at the moment. But so beautiful. We have another amaranth here. Back there we have some yarrow, which is just insane. I planted one tiny yarrow plant maybe 3 years ago, maybe 2 years ago, I'm not sure. I planted it on a video on here, and it was like a little pot right here that I planted, and now this yarrow is taking up like a quarter of the bed. I think I'm going to dig some of it out this fall and move it around and just have yarrow in different spots because it's so pretty. I love it. I don't love how it's all flopped over, but these blooms are just so pretty. Love it. Well, that's going to be it for this video. I keep walking around seeing more stuff that I want to show you guys, but maybe I'll do like a container tour and show you how the containers that we planted up earlier this spring are doing. I want to give you guys an update on the limelight hydrangea hedge that we planted. They're all doing amazing, and some of them are starting to set buds for flowers, which is awesome. I'm so excited for that. Actually added some more things up there, and it's just looking really pretty. But that'll have to wait for another day. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and we will see you in the next one.